Alright, welcome back to another YouTube video, guys. This week we're talking about conditioned reinforcers. Fancy trainer jargon, if you want to get into it. So conditioned is a fancy word for learned. So conditioning is the process of learning. If I was conditioned in school to learn that tests are not fun. A reinforcer is any stimulus that when provided or added in a certain context or situation is going to increase the rate or relative frequency of a behaviour when provided in that contingency. So a reinforcer is the thing that is given. We often think about reinforcers only as food, but when we think about reinforcers, anything that your dog values could be a reinforcer. Anything that your dog will expend a reasonable amount of energy to contact could be a reinforcer for them in certain situations. It's important to remember that some reinforcers will be reinforcing to an individual in some circumstances and contexts, and they will not be in other circumstances and contexts. As an example, we'll often ask our clients if they're going to bring their dog to class or if we're going to come over and do a training session with them. We say, hey, just give them half of their normal breakfast. You know, we don't want them starving, but we don't want them to be full either, because it would be likely if they have been sated with food for the day that they're not going to be motivated by the food reinforcer we're providing for them. Another way to think about it, as we say as dog trainers, is that when you talk about reinforcing behaviour, it's more accurate to say that we are targeting a behaviour for reinforcement. It's possible to be feeding your dog and feeling like you're reinforcing a contingency, but actually nothing is occurring because your training setups are not correct or your dog's stressed or whatever it is. So sometimes you might hear dog trainers say the phrase, were you reinforcing or were you just feeding your dog? It's really, really important to remember that as a little side. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we aren't reinforcing behaviour. We are targeting behaviour for reinforcement, and we are waiting to observe its rate and relative frequency increase. Until you see that increase, you cannot say that you've reinforced anything. You've targeted for reinforcement, and now you're observing the change. So anyway, I go on a side tangent. If you use a conditioned reinforcer in your training with your dog, it's like having a highlighter for their behaviour to say, boom, that, what you did right there when I said that magic word, yes, or when I clicked that clicker, is why you're receiving a food reward. Your timing with your marker or your conditioned reinforcer has to be spot on. You want to say yes to mark behaviour or click to mark behaviour at the very moment it occurs. So while the behaviour is in process, if your dog was going to sit, yes would be the time that you click. Yes would be the time that you click to say that when you clicked is why you're receiving this reward. So as I say, it's like a highlighter for your dog's behaviour to say, please do more of that, I like that. Can you just feed? I mean, yeah, absolutely, you can just see them do something and just feed them a piece of food. That should sink in eventually as well. But having that pinpoint marker to say, bing, here comes your reward, is a really great way to fine-tune your training and really help your dog to understand. It was worded really well for me in the first dog training course that I did, is that if you just feed, you might find that you ask your dog to sit, they sit, and we go, oh, they sat, quick, go get a treat. You go and grab the treat, you come back over, and by the time you fed that dog that piece of food, they might have already gotten up, they might have moved around the room, they might have completely forgotten whatever it was that we'd gotten that food for. So having the opportunity to go, yes, right when it occurs, and then very quickly go over and get that reinforcer is going to give your training a really big up. So one other thing with that conditioned reinforcer before I wrap up a nice quick video this week is that your conditioned reinforcer means food is coming, or another reinforcer is coming, like a toy or access to a preferred environment or something like that. So if I'm working with my dog Odin, if I say yes, it means here comes something amazing. If I say good boy, that's just praise and saying, hey, great job, but you know, we're fading out food rewards or whatever it is for this certain behaviour. But yes is a contract for your dog. Yes means reward or reinforcer is coming. Never say yes, never click without treating or providing something fantastic to your dog. If you're doing a repetition that's just going to be praise, that's when you bust out your good dog or good boy, good girl, whatever it is. We prefer to use single syllable, short, snappy words because again, if we were to use the phrase good dog, instead it would be good dog. And 6 different things again could have happened versus good or yes or click. So see how you go through this week. I'm actually going to drop a link in the description of the YouTube video for a clicker training practice thing that they got us to do in KPA, Karen Pryor Academy Dog Trainer Professional Program. It's where you practice bouncing a ball on the ground and practicing marking the bounce on the ground. You then eventually get to the point where you might let it bounce multiple times and in weird ways, and you've got to practice your observation, your timing, and your marker so that you go yes, yes, yes at the moment it hits the floor. So, see if you can start saying yes more and no less when you're training your dog. And I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye!